Welcome to Your Need to Know. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and today we are talking with an organization called She Rocks the World. If it sounds exciting, that's because it is. Joining me is Ashwathi and Davina, both of them leaders in this organization. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So, Ashwathi, tell me, how in the world did the name She Rocks the World come into being? What does this organization do?
So our organization is a by girls, for girls organization. That means every event is planned by us. And so we strive to create a community of aspiring girl leaders. And through our 2 annual events, this kind of lets people see the impact girls can have on the community when they feel comfortable being who they are.
So this is teaches you leadership skills, and you are leading your peers. So Davina, what kinds of things do you do at your monthly meetings?
So basically we go through a variety of topics, whether it be women issues or mindfulness. Every month we host a meeting at various different workplaces, and so we get to meet different women from different backgrounds and different career paths. And so we've learned that, you know, not every work path is the same. Not every career decision is final. And it's it's very comforting to us because all of us are, well, most of us are going into college or, you know, taking that big leap into our independence. And we're so worked up in what we're going to be, or like, you know, what college we're going to, and seeing these women being so confident and, you know, owning up to their failures and just being who they are is truly like inspiring to us. And so along with that, we learn a lot about mindfulness, so a lot about stress relief, because you can't be your own self if you're too worked up about everything, and you kind of got to get loose and relax and take a deep breath. And along with leadership, just being loud and vocal, using your voice is all about She Rocks the World. And so it's awesome to see our girls up on the podium speaking, opposed to people like me who were so shy and didn't want to be in the spotlight at all.
So when was the organization founded, and what age group does this organization serve?
So our organization has 40 ambassadors, and girls who are in rising 7th through 12th grade are invited to apply.
That's fantastic. I think you've hit on something, Davina, too, about career paths. You know, each of you will have more jobs in your lifetime than I have ever had. And they'll be in industries that haven't been invented, holding job titles that don't have a name.
Right.
So what I talk to a lot of young people about is skill building. If you don't know what the job is going to be, then what you really have to focus on is what skills are going to make you successful. So Davina, what are some of the skills that you work on?
So like I mentioned, public speaking is a very big one because, you know, especially in the political world, we are learning how to use our voices to stand up for things that we believe. And another thing is networking. We accentuate networking a lot. It can make a big impact on your path, and it's definitely like an aid to you. And so again, at our meetings every month, we go to different workplaces, so we network. And we talk to various different women who were maybe in the same boat as us, or maybe not. And we kind of get to seek their advice, maybe trade phone numbers. Hey, let's get a cup of coffee and talk about, you know, what you need help with, any advice, or just, you know, a friendly person to talk to.
So you guys met 3 very interesting women when you went to the Hill. So She Rocks the Hill, I think both of you were there, met 3 congresswomen, including Abigail Spanberger, who's here from Virginia. You know, what did you take away from that, Ashwathi?
So mainly what I took away is that by listening to these women, get comfortable with the notion that the career path is more of a zigzag instead of a straight line.
Yes.
And just getting comfortable that it's okay if you don't end up where you think you're going to end up.
And that's especially true in public office. Most
Right.
women do not, you know, in third grade decide, oh, I think I'll be a congresswoman when I grow up.
Yep.
Most, and I don't know if you found this, but most women end up on career paths because of a passion.
Right.
Yep.
They've found a problem that needs to be solved. You know, there's somebody not addressing something that they think is wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and She Rocks the World to me is like, yes, get out there
Yep.
and identify the thing that needs to be done.
For sure.
So some of the other things that you are doing, you know, how do you find your spaces? I mean, where, you know, you said you go to different places for your
Yes.
meetings.
Yeah.
How do you find your spaces and who offers these spaces?
So basically, our advisors make sure to host meetings at various different places. We even hosted a meeting at Amazon Web Services, which was a big one, and the Capital One headquarters. And it's, again, all about networking, and we have a wonderful social media committee, which Ashwathi is on. And people hear from us on the radio or on Instagram, Facebook, and we try to get our name known so more and more people know about us, and they are willing to lend us their space so we can host meetings. So recently, WeWorks has allowed us to use their space for 2 open meetings coming up. So anyone can join and learn more about our program that way, and we can meet them in person.
That's heavy hitters. I mean, you know, Capital One, Amazon, WeWork, I mean, that's pretty impressive. So you do social media.
I do.
Oh, big job. Most people just misunderstand social media as just putting your stuff out there and not
For sure.
engagement.
Yeah.
So that must be a big job.
Yeah, so this is my second year on the social media team. So last year we had the awards, and I got to be on the social media team there. So I got to take pictures, go backstage, interact with the award recipients, and these are just opportunities I wouldn't get if I wasn't part of She Rocks the World. Like, it differs so much from school. So rather than just being in your books, She Rocks the World gives you public speaking skills. It allows you to choose where you want to be.
And isn't it nice to do something that's not graded?
Of course.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's always good.
You know, it kind of always boggled my mind that it's like we want young people to be innovative. It's like we need to raise innovators, and yet everything about the public education system is about achievement.
Yeah.
And hitting a mark or being tested instead of really being creative and doing something different.
Right.
You know, and part of that is embracing trying and failing.
Yeah.
So is this something that you really give people a space to say it's okay to fail? In fact, if you're not failing, you're probably not trying hard enough.
For sure. The girls here are so supportive. We just have our own community, and it's not like, so we connect so well together. We go to concerts together, we go to movies together, and I think just having a strong community to back you up even when you fail is so important.
And so when you have applicants, you know, what sort of things I'm assuming there's an application. So
Right.
what kind of things are you looking for in the people who apply?
So anyone who is willing to be a part of this wonderful organization, first of all, and we're looking for the enthusiasm and definitely the want to grow. We're all about growth, and we want all the girls in our community to strive to do their best, and we're there to help them. So anyone who is ready to be accepted by our very sweet team and ready to be challenged, definitely. Get out of your comfort zone, get comfortable with the uncomfortable type of situation, and ready to seize any opportunity that comes their way.
This sounds so different from other kinds of women or female-centered organizations. Like the Girl Scouts, there's a place for the Girl Scouts, and you earn your badge and you learn to camp and all, and that's a wonderful organization. You know, a lot of young women go off to college to join a sorority.
Yeah.
And sororities can do wonderful things. They generally have charity things.
Yeah.
But this sounds like it's a skill building, fortitude building sort of thing that's different. Like there's a niche here for She Rocks the World that doesn't exist anywhere else. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about our mentorship program. So we meet many different women from various backgrounds. So some did bio as their major and ended up in consulting and everything. So what we did this year was that each girl gets to pick one woman as her mentor. So for example, my mentor works at Slalom Consulting, and it's really amazing because you get to see the world from the point of view of an established woman. And so I think I speak on behalf of all the ambassadors when I say that it's really comforting just having someone who you know got somewhere to talk to.
It is, and I think you all both indicated, women ended up in places they didn't think they would.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, and so let me ask you, you kind of have a mentorship role for the younger girls, I would assume. There's a big stretch between 7th grade and your senior year of high school. There's a lot of growth that happens there. So having 5, 6 different grades all in one place, I'm sure the younger girls are kind of looking to you in sort of a mentorship role.
Yeah.
Definitely. So part of our leadership team is that when the new season starts, we each get paired up with a younger person who's new to the ambassador team, and that way they kind of feel more welcome, comforted. They can ask us any questions, and we get to know a little bit more about them. And so our advisors and the leadership team make sure that all the topics are all inclusive. Sure, they can focus some on college and career paths, but the main thing is mindfulness and leadership. That's what matters, that builds you up to where you want to be.
And so the girls come from all different kinds of schools?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that must be different too, because most of the time you get kind of focused on going to school, and there's a, cliques or something that I think everyone struggles with, because people just sort themselves out in groups. That just is what's always been that way. But you've got an organization, people coming from different schools. That has to be kind of freeing, I would imagine.
So we get people from private schools, home schools, public schools, and it's really interesting to see how different people are, and they apply for this organization, so they're ready to just step out and get ready for public speaking. And I know that 8th grade Ashwathi is much more different from Ashwathi now, and so it's really interesting to see so many different girls in different stages of growth.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, this is important too, because homeschoolers, and I've known homeschooled kids, and people have odd ideas about who homeschools their kids, and it's unfortunate, quite frankly. And so I'm awed by the fact that you have private school and homeschooled kids, as well as public school kids. So I want to thank both of you for being here. You've helped me to understand a lot about what this organization has to offer. And I would encourage the folks viewing at home to stay tuned, because we have 2 other ambassadors joining us in the second segment to talk about She Rocks the World. And this is the kind of organization that is cultivating our next generation of women leaders.
Maria, so how's work?
It was 4th period biology. Our students just weren't getting how easily viruses spread. So Miss Bella and I had them role play a zombie virus outbreak. By the time they had all learned the lesson, all the living were dead. Hey, how's your job going?
That big sales meeting I planned? Next year, I might get to go.
Cool.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. One lit some matches and that's no good. Listen to smoke before you give it a try.
Only you.
Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about rooftop life. Nothing very nice on a homeless mind. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches. Don't play with fire.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire.
Sharing. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Welcome back to Your Need to Know. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and today we're talking with the young women from She Rocks the World. We have two ambassadors with us in this segment, Sophia and Kiki. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
So in this segment, let's delve a little bit into what it means to be a young woman in this day and age, and the fact that we've got things like social media, which I didn't have growing up, which your parents didn't have growing up, which presents a lot of different challenges in a world where we're always connected and on platforms which allow us to filter our lives. Give me some background on what kinds of things you talk about at She Rocks the World around social media, Kiki.
Okay, so in She Rocks the World, we really do touch on social media because as all of us young people growing up in this generation, social media is really prevalent in our lives. So we talk about using our platform to voice our opinions and talk about what we want to talk about. And we also talk about like what to post and like safely posting and about how social media, how we see a lot of good things about other people's lives. Social media is kind of just a highlight reel. And we basically don't get to see like people going home and being like, oh, I'm not happy about this, I'm not happy about that. But we get to see people going on vacation to all these great places or like going to concerts and hanging out with friends. So it's basically also talking about just within yourself, just being content.
So it's kind of setting up an unrealistic expectations when all you ever see about other people's lives is everything that's awesome.
Yes.
So what, in your groups, and I know you meet in different locations and you have different topics and different speakers, give me an idea, Sophia, of what a session might look like when you're talking to these young women, your peers, about social media.
So we all feel the same way towards social media, as we all have had similar experiences, and we can all really connect talking about the different insecurities and how we've often felt our worth being diminished by social media because we don't look like some of the people we might see. We don't do the certain things that they might be able to do online, and we all really talk about how that makes us feel and how we can best avoid that and how we can remind ourselves that we are worthy and we are valuable to society.
We were talking a little bit earlier about the fact that social media is kind of neutral and that it's not inherently bad, it's not inherently evil, but there have been unintended consequences beyond what the platforms were originally designed to do, like Facebook was originally designed by college students to connect college students. And it's vastly reached into politics and the economy. It's become a global issue, managing things like privacy. So what are some of the unintended consequences you think young people may not realize when they use social media?
I don't think young people really recognize how bad it is for their mental health when they are constantly being bombarded with seemingly perfect pictures that are also impossibly unrealistic. I mean, think about the constant comparison we have every day looking on our phones, checking Instagram and seeing these pictures and knowing that our lives don't look like that because the lives of most people really don't. And I mean, that can just be so detrimental to so many people's mental health and stability. It's affected me, it's affected so many of my friends, knowing that we don't have those lives.
So Kiki, when you originally got onto social media, what was your parents' reaction? I mean, I can remember now, my girls are in their 30s, right? So they were not digital natives. They did not grow up with smartphones or the internet or computers early on. They grew into that. So we were learning, my children and I were learning about it at the same time. It was new to all of us. But what about your parents?
So when I first got social media, my parents were kind of like nervous, but not exactly, because I'm an only child, but I have a lot of cousins. So my cousins were kind of guiding my parents along the process. So when I made my Instagram account, my cousins helped my parents make it along with me. So my parents follow me on all my social media platforms, and basically like they monitor, like they trust me, but it's also just like seeing what I post and like who follows me and stuff like that.
That's good. And Sophia, how are your parents feeling about this?
I got social media a couple years ago. At first, I started with Snapchat, and I have to admit my mom was a little nervous, but I mean, I showed her, how everything worked. I am always been very open with my parents about everything. So I really love that they're able to trust me with that. And then about a year later, I did get Instagram, and I do have family on Instagram that followed me, and I followed them. And I mean, they were always very supportive. They wanted to make sure, I was protecting myself online. I wasn't being irresponsible. I wasn't doing anything that was going to be harmful or dangerous. But overall, I think they were pretty supportive of that because they knew my dad works in cybersecurity, so he knows.
Well, that's helpful.
Yeah, it is.
Super helpful.
Exactly. But he also knows how important technology is and how important social media is into our lives. But he also understands that there are some dangerous, consequences.
I'm interested in how each of you heard about this program and what your parents, particularly your mothers, thought about your desire to be part of this program, or how your parents see the benefit of this program. Kiki?
So in 2016, She Rocks the World had a girls' summit at George Mason, and so my friend's older sister had a friend in the program, so she was invited. So my friend asked me and some other friends, like, hey, do you want to go? And we were all like, yeah, sure. And after the summit, at the end of the summit, they're like, oh, if you have any interest in becoming an ambassador, like, oh, you can like put your email here. And after the summit, I was like, I need to do this next school year. Like, I want to be an ambassador. So I had my name on the email list, and then like when the information came out from the next school year to join, I was like all over it. So after I came back from the summit, I told my parents about it, and they were both really excited and like really supportive about it, and my mom too, because since I'm an only child, it's like kind of me and her, and I have like my cousins and stuff, but she was like, you need another like group of females like supporting you and backing you. And so going into 7th grade, I applied and I got in. So this is my 2nd year in the program, and I couldn't be happier.
That's fantastic. And your mom is right about having mentors. You can't mentor your own children, which I have discovered the hard way. Sophia, what was your path into the organization?
So I was in middle school, and my mom had gotten an email about She Rocks the World, about this organization, about girls' leadership. And she was like, well, you should apply. And so I did. And I got in, and she was always very supportive. My mom has always been very supportive of my endeavors, especially in leadership and everything I've done. I mean, we love moms for that. Yeah. But so that was basically to the extent of it. And so I went and I fell in love with it, with all of the, especially the older girls. When I was in middle school at the time, they really were like my mentors. I looked up to them as like big sisters in a way, because, I'm the oldest, so I've never really had that. So
you make a good point. I didn't think about that as far as being, if you're the oldest, everybody looks up to you as the oldest sibling. But you've got this built-in big sister program, basically. So how many years have you been in the program?
Oh, 3 or 4. I mean, it's
That's
hard
fantastic.
to keep.
So once you apply, you can actually stay in the program till you graduate from high school.
Yeah.
If you choose to, which we most of us do.
So what have been some of the favorite sessions for you, Kiki? What has stood out as kind of like, oh, this was the one I will remember?
I think last August when we had our mindfulness meeting and we did yoga and basically just ways to like cope with stress. So like I said, we did yoga, we danced it out, and we did like breathing techniques, because being in school and stuff, like stress, like you're bombarded with it like on the daily, and even like not in school, just like I guess like we were talking about previously, social media and just so many things in our day-to-day life. Sometimes you just like need to disconnect and take a breather. So I think that's been one of my favorite meetings so far. And also when we went to Amazon Work, that was a really good one too. All the women there are also encouraging and nice, and it's also great to see what they've accomplished, and like not all of them intended to go out on this path, but they've all achieved this, and it just shows how versatile women are and how we can accomplish so many things.
That sounds cool. How about you, Sophia?
Last year, we visited this consulting firm, Slalom, in Tyson's Corner, where we met so many women of so many different career paths. And I wasn't present for the Amazon Web Services meeting, but I mean, being at Slalom and meeting so many incredible women who, they may have gone to college and studied something totally different from where they currently are, but they have found a fulfilling and fun career that they are satisfied with, and it's really taught me so much about, no matter where you go, the most important thing in a career is you feel, fulfilled and satisfied, and you really enjoy it. And I thought that was just so important and impactful on me.
I think it's great, and I think previously our two previous ambassadors were talking about the fact that they met women who were someplace where they hadn't started, and your trajectory is sort of like an interval program. It's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. And I think it's wonderful that you have that experience, because in school you don't get that. You don't get to meet necessarily a variety of adults who have a story to tell about their own path.
Yeah.
So as you are both looking at like meeting all these awesome women, what you think you want to study, knowing that you will likely be in an industry that doesn't exist. You'll probably have a job title that no one has. What are you kind of thinking of since you've met women who are role models? Kiki?
I would say just not being closed-minded and just opening your horizons. For example, my mentor, she works for VeriSign, but when she went to college, she studied political science, she minored in French. She wasn't really planning on doing anything related to technology, but then she got into it, and she's working there, and she loves it now. And so for me, I don't necessarily like math or science, but yet again, the future is technology. So I'm trying not to be close-minded, but just basically trying new things, touching and seeing where I like and see where I go from there.
That is very sound thinking, Kiki. I have to say I'm very impressed with how you thought about that. And how about you, Sophia?
The most important thing I learned from that is really, not worrying about the present and about high school, because I think that there's so much pressure on young girls and teenagers in general today to have your whole career, your whole life decided.
Mapped out, right? How ridiculous is that?
It's insane, because so many of the women that we met via these mentorship programs didn't have it figured out in high school or college or even graduate school, where they went and got a degree in French or a minor in French and, are working in IT now. And I think it really shows that, how, twisted and how,
it's
how
just
unpredictable.
Not linear. It's not linear. I mean, in school, I think people try to convey that if you do X, Y, and Z,
you're going to
this is right, and this is going to, and this is kind of not true. Yeah. But anyway, I just want to thank both of you so much for being here. You've really helped me understand what She Rocks the World does and for whom you all are leading. I am absolutely delighted that you all have taken a leadership role with younger girls, and the fact that people can find you online at sherockstheworld.org and can become involved. Thank you both so much.
Thank
and
you.
for you at home, this is what you need to know about She Rocks the World.